26. Chapter 41. Angela's POV. I made the mistake of opening Instagram before I was fully awake. That was how it started. Point 74. 65 vouchers. My phone buzzed non-stop on my nightstand, the vibration sharp and insistent. At first, I thought it was a glitch. Then I rolled onto my side, squinting at the screen, and my stomach dropped. I had over plus 500 notifications. I sat up slowly, my heart thudding as I unlocked my phone. The familiar interface looked wrong somehow, it was too loud and too crowded. Messages from people I didn't know. Comments on photos I'd posted months ago. Years ago. You guys are adorable. He looks happier with you. Those came first. The nice ones. They almost fooled me into relaxing. Then I scrolled and my heart raced at the comments I saw after. She's mid at best. Ike that, M. Why does he always go for girls who look like that? Careful, babe. He's gonna chew you up and spit you out. I dated Liam. He'll break your heart. You give gold diggers energy. Stay away from Liam. My chest tightened. I set the phone down like it had burned me, then picked it up again, because apparently I enjoyed suffering. I'd always struggled with confidence. I knew that about myself. I overanalyzed photos, angles, and lighting. I'd learned how to dress in ways that didn't draw attention to the parts of me I didn't like. I'd made peace, mostly with mirrors. But this felt like standing naked in a room full of strangers who'd been invited to critique me. By the time I dragged myself out of bed, my head hurt and my throat felt tight. I avoided the mirror in the bathroom. One brushed my teeth fast and had my bath. Then, I pulled on clothes that felt safe. Neutral. Forgettable. By the time I left my room, the house was empty. I checked Liam's room but I didn't find him. Liam was already gone. Then, I remembered him telling me yesterday that he had practice early today. They had a big game coming up soon and he wanted me to attend. I hadn't given him an answer yet. But somehow, I knew that I'd go anyway. When I got to the kitchen, I looked around and saw food wrapped in a plate. He must have made breakfast for me. The action warmed my heart. I reached out to get milk from the fridge and then stopped. There was a sticky note on the fridge. It read, "Text me if today gets heavy." I mean it. It dawned on me that he was worried about me. About what was happening with Ethan. I didn't want to tell him everything. Hell, I wanted to just enter my room and forget that it ever happened, but Liam had a way of warming up to me. 12:10 Monday, January 26, GAD. Chapter 41. 74. E45 vouchers. And I hated the fact that I was feeling dependent on him. It had been on the tip of my tongue to ask him if he was using me just the way Ethan said, but I didn't do that. Instead, I twisted the words and he said he didn't see this, us as a joke. I pressed the paper between my fingers for a second longer than necessary, then let it go. When I finished eating, I grabbed my bag and headed out, not wanting to be late today. Work was worse today. I'd barely sat down at my desk when my phone buzzed again. I flipped it face down this time. Determined not to look, but the damage was already done. Every whisper in the office felt louder. Every glance felt suspicious. It felt like I was walking on thin ice and I hated it so much I could barely breathe. I was halfway through reviewing a report when Ethan slid into the chair across from me like he'd been invited. I groaned internally because honestly, I wasn't ready to deal with him that morning. Ethan was supposed to be the least of my worries, but somehow, he was always there and it annoyed the hell out of me. "You look tired," he said softly. "I'm busy," I replied without looking up. "Angela," he sighed, like he was humoring me. "I saw what's happening online." That got my attention. I looked up sharply. "How?" He shrugged. "People talk. And when you're dating someone like Liam, people watch." My jaw clenched. "What do you want?" He leaned back, folding his arms. "I just hate seeing you like this." "Then stop contributing to it," I replied, ready to end this conversation because I was developing a headache. "I'm not," he said calmly. "I warned you. This is exactly what I meant." He leaned forward, voice dropping. His world is brutal. You'll always be judged. Always found lacking. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. With me, he continued, you wouldn't have to deal with any of this. You could just be yourself. There it was. The trap. I pushed my chair back. We're here to work. Right, he said, holding up his hands. Which is why I was thinking, we should grab dinner tonight. Go over the presentation. My instinct screamed no. But exhaustion makes you stupid. And a small, traitorous part of me thought it was a public place. It would be professional and I could control the situation. Fine, I said, but just work. Of course, he smiled. Just work. I should have known better. The restaurant he chose was nothing like the casual bistro I'd imagined. It was dimly lit, all candlelight and soft music. The kind of place people went to celebrate anniversaries. This is a bit much, I said as we were seated. It's quiet, he replied smoothly. Easier to focus. He ordered wine before I could object. I didn't say. It'll help you relax, he said, not letting me finish. You've been under a lot of stress. I took a sip out of politeness. I regretted it immediately. 12:10 Monday, January 26, GR. Chapter 41. He spent the entire meal reminiscing. Stories from Ma 7. 74. 55 vouchers. Childhood. Inside jokes. Moments I'd forgotten or thought I had. You remember when you cried because you thought I'd forgotten your birthday? He said, smiling. I was 12, I replied flatly. And I showed up at your house with cupcakes anyway, he said, reaching across the table. I pulled my hand back. Ethan. Don't. He chuckled. You always do that. Pretend you don't feel things. That's not true. Isn't it? He leaned closer. You feel them, you just bury them, like now. I stood abruptly. I'm leaving. Angela. I said I'm leaving. He followed me out anyway, the cool night air hitting my flushed skin. My keys were in my hand, my pulse racing as we crossed the parking lot. I just miss you, he said quietly. I hate seeing you hurt. I'm not yours to miss, I shot back. He stepped closer. Too close. You don't have to do this. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Move, I muttered, but he didn't listen. Instead, he leaned in. I turned my head at the last second. His lips brushed my cheek. No, I said sharply. Do not, and then I saw it. Liam's car. Parked a few rows over. Engine running. Him in the driver's seat, hands clenched on the steering wheel, shoulders rigid with tension. Our eyes met. The hurt on his face was immediate. Unfiltered. Like I'd physically struck him. My breath caught. Ethan followed my gaze, then smiled faintly, like he'd won something. I stepped back, heart pounding. This was a mistake, I said. All of it. For the first time since this all started, one thought rang louder than the rest. What if Liam's feelings aren't fake at all? And worse, what if I was already hurting him? W.H. When? Tian. A.D. Comment. Send gift. Archer.